Dead Scared Entertainment takes pleasure in presenting Verda Darano, a journey into the phantasmagoric lands of folklore, literature, theater, and film. In the centuries-old tradition of the Romani people, we bring to you stories of superstition, fantasy, and adventure. There's no turning back. The Verda approaches.
Latchi Ratyi Miro Amal. Good evening, friend. I'm Makalai. Hurry! Hurry, bundle up! Watch your step. The caravan is rather slippery when it snows this time of year. Speaking of which, I hope you and I are good company for each other. The annual sickness of hollies and jollies has yet again befallen the world, and even the next. All this merriment is just too much. It's even affected me. I just lined the outside of my Verda with lights and garland. I know, ghastly. I've lost my senses, but I'm glad you're here with me to prowl back to the depths of dread and doom. Tonight, Miro Amal, we travel to icy, snow-ridden England. Centuries ago, to a man just wrapping up his practice as a physician for the cold evening. Yet not until he tends to one last patient. But before that, there are two ghouls who are clawing and gnashing their fangs to speak with us. I hope you brought them presents.
Latchi Ratyi Dead Scared Entertainment. Thank you for tuning in yet again for another episode of Verda Darano, the Wagon of Fear. Cal and I are so excited for this episode. Why? Because this is what we now coin Deck the Halls with Dead Scared Entertainment. So sit back, grab yourself the last remaining cup or two worth of eggnog, or whiskey, or Ovaltine, or something, and get ready for tonight's very festive episode. Are you excited about tonight?
Buffet.
So, since this is a more holiday-themed episode, rather than the traditional talking about our favorite holiday, Halloween, this is more geared towards the winter holidays. Why don't we start talking about what we do differently, or like what makes our holidays unique as compared to your average Joe in middle America, with the SUV, a tractor, two dogs, and beef jerky in his right coat pocket.
Yuck.
So what do we do for Christmas? And because we're Catholic, so we celebrate Christmas. I know there's a good chunk of you who celebrate Hanukkah. Do you know anybody who celebrates Kwanzaa?
Mm-mm.
If you celebrate Kwanzaa, reach out to us. That's something I want to know about. I know for a fact we both here definitely want to know about. What are the traditions for that? And
I take that back.
Who?
I have a few friends that celebrate Kwanzaa. They're my modeling friends.
Oh, what do they do?
I'm not sure.
We got to ask them questions then.
They dress nice and take pictures. That's all I know.
All right. Well, in that case, let's speak on what we can talk about. So what do we do for Christmas or for the holidays that makes this time of the year special?
Well, for me, I love going to Mass every Sunday. This year was hard because I was working the majority of every day of the week. But normally celebrating Advent, which is the 4 Sundays now in this Christmas season, adding up, leading up to Christmas. I think it's a time for reflection for everyone. So I have personal traditions and things that I do, but as a whole, as a family, I feel like cooking for Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, going to the 12 o'clock Mass on Christmas Eve, and ringing in Christmas Day at church, taking the Eucharist, and yeah. We also have a couple family members come over, we exchange gifts, decorating the tree. I mean, these are all pretty common traditions. I can't think of anything that we do maybe a bit different than other people that celebrate the common Christmas holiday. Our parents always buy us pajamas
I was just gonna
on
say,
Christmas Eve. That's a thing.
yeah. I mean, that's normally because I have friends that they'll open everything on Christmas Eve rather than on Christmas Day. And like, but one thing is that we open one gift before, like the first gift of Christmas, in other words, and it's usually a pajama set that Raquel and my little brother Colin and I end up getting. We haven't really been doing it this year, just because I guess now we're older. It's a whole different bag. That holiday magic that used to be there really ain't there anymore.
Well, it's because all of us in the family are older, and all of our younger cousins live so far away from us.
True.
So it's hard to like bring that sort of magical, that magical sense that Christmas normally has. But I feel like,
And two, Santa's a dead dog. He doesn't come by the house. And because of that, and because he made trouble for us and talked about us on the My Face, we ain't putting no cookies out for him. He ain't even getting a Chips Ahoy that we bought at Jules down the street. So if he's listening, don't come by us. What used to be a lot of traditions was watching the movies, like older movies together, like It's a Wonderful Life, or we would watch Charlie Brown Christmas Special, and all the different cartoons. Like actually, a lot of the Fleischer cartoons growing up was what we watched around this time of year. Was a lot of the Fleischer cartoons, the original Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. There was Christmas Comes But Once a Year. Oh, look how I'm blanking on the one. I think it was called Jack Frost was one of them as well. Now, when we say Fleischer cartoons, we're talking about like the older cartoons from like the late 20s into like the 40s. It was sort of like Disney's competition. Essentially, this is where I'm going to get into the animation side stuff for just a little bit. Indulge me, listeners. Good, yeah, again, competition for Disney. They produced the classic Superman cartoon serial that was around at the time, as well as Popeye and a couple other characters, Betty Boop.
what is the name of that Christmas one that we used to watch? It's with the orphans.
Christmas Comes But Once a Year.
But okay, but
That's what it's called.
But wasn't it a double feature, if I'm not mistaken? Because
It came on a VHS. What we watched it on was on a VHS that had a special with all of them. It was never a double feature. Because see, those cartoons used to come in between either newsreels, or sometimes there would be a set of them, different cartoons that were...
Right, but there was one where it's Santa Claus and he's doing the snow in the street, and he's shoveling the snow on the people's porch or something, or he's
That's the
shoveling
one.
his own snow. That's the same
Yes.
one?
Yes.
Oh, I thought that was two different things.
Nope. Same one. You need to go back and watch it.
I did. I actually did watch it.
That's the one.
I just thought it was two separate things, but from the same
Same studio,
Yeah.
same cartoon.
Oh.
Anyways, this year, or actually the past couple years, I've been doing this personally, where just because I'm not really big, I love Halloween, and you know that for a damn fact. I live every day like Halloween. Even Christmas Day still had a little bit of my usual spooky flair I put into it. I made it a point to try to watch some like more holiday-oriented horror films. But one that stood out the most to me, and I never seen this before, and I know horror fans they're gonna go, how could that be? How many, you call yourself? Yeah, shut up. It was good. I liked it. Better late than never. But the classic, it's called Black Christmas. It's about a sorority house that is infiltrated by a mysterious killer that first presents itself as a bunch of like very vulgar prank calls, but then turns extremely evil, killing each of the sorority girls one by one. And the mysterious happenings that go on as they try to find out who the killer is and how they can stop this mass murdering. I probably butchered that explanation, but if you've seen it, great. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. It is... You remember the original, like the classic Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah.
I think her name was Olivia Hussey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, her. She's the star in that film. And it's kind of funny because all the girls speak with like American accents, and she's the only one who sort of has like a very like she's still got that English accent. So it's almost like she's like a foreign exchange student. Again, I don't know the 100% of the details. I know that there's some horror fans out there that could probably talk about, I don't know, what her grades were in that movie. Don't necessarily know. But it was a good film. It's not as bloody as you would hope it to be. It definitely speaks towards I can see why it's popular, because it gives you the right flavors of what makes the horror genre so fun and enjoyable. Because just like the overall vibe, the overall tone of the film, although being very like twisted, was actually pretty funny. There were some bits of it, that had some pretty good laughs. So yeah.
The Nightmare Before Christmas is good.
Well, of course, without a doubt. Surprisingly, I didn't watch that this year.
I can't think of any other
Well, it's not like scary, but like A Christmas Carol has ghosts in it, which kind of...
Yeah, but that's not scary at all.
Yeah, but that's because it's so popular in mass media now. Back then, it was pretty chilling because it also followed a very special tradition that Dead Scared would like to be bringing back somehow into the American zeitgeist, as well as for this episode in this case. And what I mean is the old tradition of telling ghost stories during the Christmas season.
Oh, Sabrina.
No.
I know, but
Oh, she had a Christmas special too.
yeah.
I didn't watch that this year either. Well, no, I was gonna try to re-watch season 1. I'm almost done with season 1 again, the rewatching of it. This season's just been interesting. This whole winter season.
This winter
Yeah.
has definitely been the most busy and hectic out of any other holiday season that we've had. This year in general has just been a bit crazy.
Yeah, but every holiday season's been crazy.
This episode keeps getting spookier and spookier.
I know! I'm dead scared.
You mean dead scared entertainment.
Come on. Let's just tell the listeners they can have more fantastic fun after the show on deadscaredentertainment.com.
She's right. There you can find all our episodes of Verda Darano, drawing videos, and most importantly, our store.
We've got t-shirts, hoodies, and more.
It's a great way to show your spooky pride, as well as fund some frightening film projects.
It's like putting money back in your pocket. So don't forget them all. Head on over to
deadscaredentertainment.com. And now, back to Verda Darano.
That's it. I'm not sleeping tonight.
I know that if not this year, but definitely in years past, we've had some crazy things happen here at this house during this holiday season, have we not?
Oh yeah.
Didn't you just say that you saw something the other?
No, we were sitting in the living room by our grandparents' house, and right next to where the couch is like a bedroom door.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought my uncle was coming out of the bedroom, but when I turned to look, the lights were off and no one was there. So the door literally just swung open as we were sitting there. And then I got like a chill, obviously. So that was that. And then
Mind you, we were all sitting together.
yeah.
It wasn't like it was only her in the room. We were drinking, listening to music, so the house was loud. Everybody was sitting together.
This was Christmas Day.
This was Christmas Day.
Christmas Day,
Yes.
yeah. But
Christmas
I think
night. But yeah.
the eve of Christmas Eve, I was sitting in the living room and I was trying to call my grandparents. So I said, "Hey Siri, call Baba and Papu." Look how my service.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone.
But you see how it said that, right? You need to unlock your iPhone. Now, every time I say that, it normally calls them, or it says this, you need to unlock your iPhone business. But this time when I said that, it literally called my Papu Ernie, who had recently passed away this February. And it was so weird because I thought I had deleted his contact in my phone just so I don't get confused with like the multiple previous phone numbers that he's had in my phone. So I figured, there's no way for me to call him anymore. I'm just going to delete the contact. But yeah, no. It called him. And it was ringing. And I was shitting my pants. Anyway, yeah, that was a little bit spooky. But I feel like every time too, when pots fall or random things fall that are definitely secure, or you see things flying off the shelves somewhere, that's a common thing in our home, especially during the holidays, like Christmas and Easter, or when it's someone's birthday who had passed away. And my mother and father always say that that's them coming to say hello or showing that they're with us. And I don't like that. I really don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. God be with you. I hope you are resting in peace in heaven. But don't do that, please. Thank you.
Yeah, because see, you're chicken shit. And
I don't care.
listen, do you understand what kind of the amount of energy it takes to even do those types of things?
But no, that's exactly what I know. That's why I get scared.
Yeah, well, let
Because
them do
tell
it.
me how, like Bubba Vivian or somebody like that, like where does she get this energy from?
Us.
That's the point. Don't take it. We love you. We know you're here. We love yous. But stop.
Yeah.
I don't welcome it.
Electrical
Please.
devices.
I need my energy. I have no energy. I'm malnourished.
Yeah,
I work
we know.
every day. We can't do that energy exchange. We can't. I'm sorry.
I don't know. At this point,
The lights go out all the time too, out of nowhere. No thank you. Love y'all, but no thank you.
well, there's that. Then there was a few years ago. I don't necessarily know. I can't say who it was. I don't want to. I can't remember if it was. To me personally, when I saw this, I went downstairs at midnight. This was one of the very few years or one of the years that we didn't decide to do Christmas Mass. We ended up not going to Mass at all that year. So I went downstairs at midnight from upstairs to Baba and Papu's apartment or floor, whatever you want to call it. And as I walked in, the lights were all dim in the whole house, except for like the little Christmas lights that were on. And then in the dining room, because as soon as you walk in, you look right, you see through like the whole, it's an open, look how I'm blanking on what they call that.
Floor plan?
Oh yeah, there's a better way to explain it. But yeah, but essentially where you can see through the whole house type deal. And if you've listened to any of our other podcasts, you know that the house is set up all down one main hallway and everything spouts off from that point. Well, look into the dining room downstairs and I see a figure of a man around like 5 foot, almost 6, rather tall. And it looked like, to me, like one of our family members who actually passed away in this house. This was years ago, back when I was about 5 years old. And he was visiting from out of town. He wasn't in the best of shape. And I can't remember 100% the details because I was so young as to why.
I can.
Well, no, what I mean is like why he passed away and all those things of that nature. But essentially, he died in the house. And again, just like Raquel was saying, frequent little things will happen. But at least for me, I notice it's a lot more of like those like little corner of the eye, like little shadows or things moving, or it'll be like a flash of light as well. Small stuff like that, that'll happen. To me, more or less, it's there. All right, big deal. You know, that's kind of like a normal occurrence. So, yeah.
I was actually there when he passed away. But that's a story for another time.
That's a story for another time. It's kind of funny because we're following in that old European tradition of telling spooky stories during the Yuletide season. Now, the reason I say this is because essentially it was a tradition that lost favor throughout the years, but was very popular in Victorian England. And just so then I don't necessarily butcher the history, I have prepared a statement based on some research and findings, and I will now read this to you, my wonderful listeners. According to Elizabeth Yuko of History.com in her article, How Ghost Stories Became a Christmas Tradition in Victorian England, like most long-standing cultural customs, the precise origin of telling ghost stories at the end of the year is unknown, largely because it began as an oral tradition without written records. But, according to Sarah Cleto, a folklorist specializing in British literature and co-founder of the Caterhaugh School of Folklore and the Fantastic, the season around winter solstice has been one of transition and change. For a very, very, very long time, the season
has provoked oral stories about spooky things in many different countries and cultures all over the world, she says. Furthermore, spooky storytelling gave people something to do during the long, dark evenings before electricity. The long midwinter nights meant folks had to stop working early, and they spent their leisure hours huddled close to the fire, says Tara Moore, an assistant professor of English at Elizabethtown College, author of Victorian Christmas in Print, and editor of the Valancourt Book of Victorian Christmas Ghost Stories. Plus, you didn't need to be literate to retell the local ghost story.
So, more or less to distill what I just read, people didn't know what to do with themselves with the long winter nights, and you're in the dark, you're huddled with your family, friends, and on top of it, you're reflecting on the past year, memories, whether it be good or bad, and you do start to get a little bit reminiscent about things, including people you've known or about stories that you've heard. So naturally, in the dark, huddled around a fire, it only makes sense to want to talk about some spooky stuff because it's a spooky time of year. And just think, we're transitioning, if you want to really take this back a little ways, we just left Halloween season, where the veil between our dimension and dimensions unknown is at its thinnest. And now we're transitioning towards the end of the year and again reaching a moment where again spirits are more prevalent, and then eventually, kind of going through the cycle of the year. Obviously, again, talking from a more pagan side of things, it makes sense as to why we're reaching the end of the year. And at the darkest night during the winter solstice, that's when, again, we have that very thin veil between our world and theirs. And then we, again, once the winter solstice is over, we see the return of light, the return of the sun. And that's why we also celebrate these winter holidays to some extent. And again, obviously, for more organized religion reasons, that's why we also have Hanukkah, we have Kwanzaa, we have Christmas. For some of us more contemporary individuals, they celebrate Festivus or whatever it is that you may have.
Festivus for the rest of us.
Exactly. I should have got my bass out. So at this time, you've probably heard enough of us talking for the moment being. And we probably have not scared you. And if we did, well, I'm sorry. But it's only fair that we continue to give you the thrills and the chills that you come here for every single episode. And in this case, I would like to read to you in the classic style of season 1 of Verda Darano. I would like to read to you a very spooky Yuletide tale. This one is called
The Ghost Summons by Ada Busson. Wanted, sir. A patient. It was in the early days of my professional career, when patients were scarce and fees scarcer, and though I was in the act of sitting down to my chop, I had promised myself a glass of steaming punch afterwards in honor of the Christmas season. I hurried instantly to my surgery. I entered briskly, but no sooner did I catch sight of the figure standing leaning against the counter than I started back with a strange feeling of horror, for which the life of me I could not comprehend. Never shall I forget the ghastliness of that face, the white horror stamped upon every feature, the agony which seemed to sink the very eyes beneath the contracted brows. It was awful to me to behold, accustomed as I was to scenes of terror. You seek advice, I began, with some hesitation. No, I am not ill. You require then, hush! He interrupted, approaching more nearly and dropping his already low murmur to whisper. I believe you are not rich. Would you be willing to earn 1,000 pounds? 1,000 pounds? His words seemed to burn my very ears. I should be thankful, if I could only do so honestly. I replied with dignity, "What is the service you require of me?" A peculiar look of intense horror passed over the white face before me, but the blue-black lips answered firmly, "To attend a deathbed." £1,000 to attend a deathbed? Where am I to go then? Who is it? Mine. The voice in which this was said sounded so hollow and distant that involuntarily I shrank back. Yours? What nonsense! You are not a dying man. You are pale, but you appear perfectly healthy. You— Hush! He interrupted. I know all this. I cannot be more convinced of my physical health than I am myself. Yet I know that before the clock tolls the first hour after midnight, I shall be a dead man. But— He shuddered slightly, but stretching out his hand commandingly, motioned me to be silent. I am but too well informed of what I affirm, he said quietly. I have received a mysterious summons from the dead. No mortal aid can avail me. I am as doomed as the wretch on whom the judge has passed sentence. I do not come either to seek your advice or to argue the matter with you, but simply to buy your services. I offer you £1,000 to pass the night in my chamber and witness the scene which takes place. The sum may appear to you extravagant, but I have no further need to count the cost of any gratification, and the spectacle you will have to witness is no common sight of horror. The words, as strange as they were spoken calmly enough, but as the last sentence dropped slowly from the livid lips, an expression of such wild horror again passed over the stranger's face that, in spite of the immense fee, I hesitated to answer. You fear to trust the promise of a dead man? See here, and be convinced, he exclaimed eagerly. And the next instant, on the counter between us, lay a parchment document, and following the indication of that white muscular hand, I read the words, and to Mr. Frederick Keed, of 14 High Street, Alton, I bequeath the sum of £1,000 for certain services rendered to me. I have had that will drawn up within the last 24 hours, and signed it an hour ago, in the presence of competent witnesses. I am prepared, you see. Now, do you accept my offer or not? My answer was to walk across the room and take down my hat, and then lock the door of the surgery communicating with the house. It was a dark, icy cold night, and somehow the courage and determination which the sight of my own name in connection with £1,000 had given me fly considerably as I found myself hurried along through the silent darkness by a man whose deathbed I was about to attend. He was grimly silent, but as his hand touched mine in spite of the frost, it felt like a burning coal. On we went, tramp, tramp, through the snow, on, till even I grew weary, and at length on my appalled ear struck the chimes of a church clock, whilst close at hand I distinguished the snowy hillocks of a churchyard. Heavens! Was this awful scene of which I was to be the witness to take place veritably amongst the dead? 11, groaned the doomed man. Gracious God, but 2 hours more, and that ghostly messenger will bring the summons. Come, for mercy's sake, let us hasten. There was but a short road separating us now from a wall which surrounded a large mansion, and along this we hastened until we reached a small door. Passing through this, in a few minutes we were stealthily ascending a private staircase to a splendidly furnished apartment, which left no doubt of the wealth of its owner. All was intensely silent. However, through the house, and about this room in particular, there was a stillness that, as I gazed around, struck me as almost ghastly. My companion glanced at the clock on the mantel-shelf, and sank into a large chair by the side of the fire with a shudder. Only an hour and a half longer, he muttered. Great heaven, I thought I had more fortitude. This horror unmans me. Then, in a fiercer tone and clutching my arm, he added, Ha! You mock me. You think me mad. But wait till you see. Wait till you see. I put my hand on his wrist. But there was now a fever in his sunken eyes, which checked the superstitious chill which I had been gathering over me. It made me hope that, after all, my first suspicion was correct, and that my patient was but the victim of some fearful hallucination. Mock you, I answered soothingly. Far from it. I sympathize intensely with you, and would do much to aid you. You require sleep. Lie down and leave me to watch. He groaned, but rose, and began throwing off his clothes, and, watching my opportunity, I slipped a sleeping powder, which I had managed to put in my pocket before leaving the surgery, into the tumbler of claret that stood beside him. The more I saw, the more I felt convinced that it was the nervous system of my patient which required my attention. And it was with sincere satisfaction I saw him drink the wine, and then stretched himself on the luxurious bed. Huh, thought I, as the clock struck 12, and instead of a groan, the deep breathing of the sleeper sounded through the room. You won't receive any summons tonight, and I may make myself comfortable. Noiselessly, therefore, I replenished the fire, poured myself out a large glass of wine, and drawing the curtain so that the firelight should not disturb the sleeper, I put myself in a position to follow his example. How long I slept I know not, but suddenly I roused with a start and a ghostly thrill of horror as I ever remember to have felt in my life. Something, what I knew not, seemed near. Something nameless, but unutterably awful. I gazed round. The fire emitted a faint blue glow just sufficient to enable me to see that the room was exactly the same as when I fell asleep, that the long hand of the clock wanted but 5 minutes of that mysterious hour which was to be the death moment of the summoned man. Was there anything in it then? Any truth in the strange story he had told? The silence was intense. I could not even hear a breath from the bed, and I was about to rise and approach when again that awful horror seized me, and at the same moment my eye fell upon the mirror opposite the door, and I saw, great heaven, that awful shape, that ghastly mockery of what had been humanity. Was it really a messenger from the buried, quiet dead? It stood there in visible death clothes, but the awful face was ghastly with corruption, and the sunken eyes gleamed forth a green glassy glare which seemed a veritable blast from the infernal fires below. To move or utter a sound in that hideous presence was impossible. Like a statue I sat and saw that horrid shape move slowly towards the bed. What was the awful scene enacted there I know not. I heard nothing except a low, stifled, agonized groan, and I saw that shadow of that ghastly messenger bending over the bed. Whether it was some dreadful but wordless sentence its breathless lips conveyed as it stood there, I know not, but for an instant the shadow of a claw-like hand, from which the third finger was missing, appeared extended over the doomed man's head, and then, as the clock struck one clear silvery stroke, it fell, and a wild shriek rang through the room. A death shriek! I am not given to fainting, but I certainly confess that the next 10 minutes of my existence was a cold blank, and even when I did manage to stagger to my feet, I gazed around, vainly endeavoring to understand the chilly horror which still possessed me. Thank God the room was rid of that awful presence. I saw that, so, gulping down some wine, I lighted a wax taper and staggered towards the bed. Ah, how I prayed that after all I might have been dreaming, and that my own excited imagination had but conjured up something hideous of a memory of the dissecting room. But one glance was sufficient to answer that. No, the summons had indeed been given, and answered. I flashed the light over the dead face, swollen, convulsed, still with a death agony. But suddenly I shrank back. Even as I gazed, the expression of the face seemed to change. The blackness faded into a deathly whiteness, the convulsed features relaxed, and, even as if the victim of that dread apparition still lived, a sad, solemn smile stole over the pale lips. I was intensely horrified, but still I retained sufficient self-consciousness to be struck professionally by such a phenomenon. Surely there was something more than supernatural agency in all this. Again, I scrutinized the dead face, and even the throat and chest, but, with the exception of a tiny pimple on one temple beneath a cluster of hair, not a mark appeared. To look at the corpse, one would have believed that this man had indeed died by the visitation of God, peacefully, whilst sleeping. How long I stood there I know not, but time enough to gather my scattered senses and to reflect that, all things considered, my own position would be very unpleasant if I was found thus unexpectedly in the room of the mysteriously dead man. So, as noiselessly as I could, I made my way out of the house. No one met me on the private staircase. The little door opening to the road was easily unfastened, and thankful indeed was I to feel again the fresh wintry air as I hurried along the road by the churchyard. There was a magnificent funeral soon in that church, and it was said that the young widow of the buried man was inconsolable. And then rumors got abroad of a horrible apparition which had been seen on the night of the death, and it was whispered that the young widow was terrified and insisted upon leaving her splendid mansion. I was too mystified by the whole affair to risk my reputation by saying what I knew, and I should have allowed my share in it to remain forever buried in oblivion, had I not suddenly heard that the widow, objecting to the many legacies in the last will of her husband, intended to dispute it on the score of insanity, and then there gradually arose the rumor of his belief in having received a mysterious summons. On this I went to the lawyer, and sent a message to the lady that, as the last person who had attended her husband, I undertook to prove his sanity, and I besought her to grant me an interview, in which I would relate as strange and horrible a story as ear had ever heard. The same evening, I received an invitation to go to the mansion. I was ushered immediately into a splendid room, and there, standing before the fire, was the most dazzlingly beautiful young creature I had ever seen. She was very small, but exquisitely made. Had it not been for the dignity of her carriage, I should have believed her a mere child. With a stately bow she advanced, but did not speak. "I come on a strange and painful errand," I began, and then I started, for I happened to glance full into her eyes, and from them down to the small right hand grasping the chair. The wedding ring was on that hand. "I conclude you are the Mr. Key who requested permission to tell me some absurd ghost story, and whom my late husband mentions here?" And as she spoke, she stretched out her left hand towards something, but what I knew not, for my eyes were fixed on that hand. Horror! White and delicate it might be, but it was shaped like a claw, and the third finger was missing. One sentence was enough after that. "Madam, all I can tell you is that the ghost who summoned your husband was marked by a singular deformity. The third finger of the left hand was missing," I said sternly. And the next instant I had left that beautiful, sinful presence. That will was never disputed. The next morning, too, I received a check for £1,000, and the next news I heard of the widow was that she had herself seen that awful apparition and had left the mansion.
And that was a wonderful story. My gosh.
Good thing I didn't listen to it.
I gotta say, these older writers really know how to tell a tale. That is for sure. And just the fact that there's always that skeptic inside of all of us. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. But in either case, that was a very chilling tale. Speaking of a killing, time is slowly diminishing, as is the wee hours of 2023. And I gotta say, Raquel, you can agree with me, 2023 has been a momentous year for Dead Scared Entertainment and for Verda Darano as well.
Yep.
Looking back on that, wow. Like, what were some of your favorite moments of this year?
I think. Oh, that's really hard. My top favorite moment was going to our alma mater, whatever. And hosting a table there.
Oh yeah, when we went.
I thought that was a bit full circle from suffering in college for a really long time, 4 years, university. Got the bachelor's degree, did exactly what I came there to do. And then we were able to be featured within this entrepreneurship event. It was really nice. And then also obviously talking to Jess and Paulina on our crossover. That was really fun. Yeah, I think those were my highlights.
There's so much to this year. I gotta say, Dead Scared really went from just being like whispers of a funny little horror production company to now making a little bit of a statement on the scene, especially here in Chicago, going from DePaul University's event, the entrepreneur event at the Coleman Center, then soon after that, hitting a couple of the monster movie marathons here in the city at the Davis Theater. That was so much fun as well, meeting all those great, wonderful people out there, all these fellow horror fans, connecting with some of the biggest names, some of the most infamous names in horror here on the Chicago scene, and getting to know them to the point that I could call them friends now. Dead Scare can call them friends. And then the guests that we had on the podcast from the awesome Bat Refuge, incredible bats here in Illinois, and then Romanistan, as well as having Raquel's friends from Done by Design as well, a part of the season. And then just getting to see just how much, even throughout the year, we're still able to dabble and bring as much of the spooky season in as possible to the people around us. And just seeing that even though it was so far-fetched at the beginning, seeing that Dead Scared has a place in today's media, and only knowing that it's going to get bigger and bigger from here, with some details and some information and some projects coming up that, well, we can't really talk about just yet, but it will be really exciting to reflect upon later on at some point when things are being announced. So 2023 was a fruitful year, a fantastic year, and I cannot really wait to see what happens in 2024. 2024, I gotta say, we're gonna try to put together some more content for sure, and we're finally gonna really live up to what we talk about and expect a film from us or two this year, without a doubt. We're lining up our ducks in a row, and then soon we're all gonna have some duck soup at some point in time and watch
Yuck.
a movie. Duck is very good. Little bit of a side tangent. David Horvat. David Horvat. He's probably gonna hate that if he ever listens to this. He's gonna hate the fact that I mentioned him. But a long time ago, I went to Vento. I'm probably butchering that. It's a French place because that's what we were purposely looking for. Venteux.
Venu.
They don't know what a T is. They don't know how to pronounce a T.
Ventnu.
No, Vento. Ventois. I don't know. No, it's not. Anyways, we went there.
And you had the duck soup and it was...
No, we didn't have a duck soup. No, we had duck and waffles.
Oh.
It was great. Oh my God, that meat was so tender. And it
But
came
you know
with
what we also
blueberries.
forgot to mention? The
What?
flag raising. That was at the top of
Oh
the
my
year.
gosh. That was one of the biggest things.
Yeah.
You weren't there for that, but I'll tell you, it was a good time because Emily Goldie, one of Dead Scared Entertainment's prize constituents, she's more or less in some. Basically, she's Raquel's replacement when times get tough. That's for sure.
I think I was out of fitting or I had a show that day.
Yeah, but you know what? I was still able to get to there. Emily and I were there for that for sure.
But let's talk about this.
Well, no,
hold on. Let's talk about
wait.
this 1 second. Let me
The
mention
flag
this.
raising.
Yes. So check this out, right? So, yes, Emily did go. We love her for that. She's great. Taking my place for content and being able to witness that firsthand must have been amazing. But lucky for us, she knew a couple people who worked at the
Who gave us the details?
Daily Center, who gave us the details for certain things. But check this out. And I'm not here to start no trouble.
No.
But the Daily Center was very hesitant on doing this, and they
Oh yeah, that's
didn't
right.
care about our flag raising. So to see it actually happen, and to witness all the happy faces and performances that came out in the middle, I think it was like of February or January.
No, it was April. Raquel, this happened
was
in
April.
April.
It was
right
April.
before Easter.
Yes, because my show was in May. Yeah.
And we literally left on the train right after that to go to Detroit.
Oh my God, I was on a music video.
That's what it was. See? Okay, so
I was filming for a music video, Swish by Vic Mensa, G-Eazy, and I think Chance the Rapper. Look it up. If you look up Swish by G-Eazy, Vic Mensa, and all them, and you look at the little caption on YouTube, you'll see my name in the credits. But I'm not shown in the video because they cut my part out, obviously. They always cut me out. But that's okay. I got paid. I was at the shoot. Then right after that, we met up and ran to the train station because it was Easter.
it was Easter and we had to go see the Oliver Wolf concert.
Yes.
And we literally got off the train,
Yeah.
hopped in a bar to go drink with him
Yeah.
and the family.
Yep.
But besides that, because we completely brushed over the whole ceremony you mentioned. So it was amazing because it was so cool to see. Not only did you have like Dead Scared representing the company and the Romane people here, or the Bashal de Romongre here, we had some other relatives come out as well, all the way from Minneapolis. We had we made some friends from here around the city, as well as there were some individuals that came all the way from Florida to come and witness this, because this was the first time the Romana flag was raised in America. That is the first time that the Romana people were recognized and honored, like through a flag raising, for the first time in America. And it happened here in Chicago.
Yep.
And Dead Scared Entertainment was there for that.
Covering all media.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, there was a representative from Serbia that came all the way as well. A government official from Serbia to come and witness this and to speak a few words during the ceremony as well. As well as there was a number of...
The World Roma Federation is the people
they were the
hosted
people who
it.
put it together. The World Roma Federation, if you are a part of this and you're listening to this podcast, thank you for putting this together. It was a pleasure to meet you all and to get a chance to hear about your goals and hear about the amazing things that you are doing for the Roma people around the world. I wish you guys nothing but the best in terms of your endeavors and what you plan on doing in the future. Because we all know that the Roma really need help, and we really need to see that the Romani people around this world, especially in Europe, are taken care of by their own, because we know, for the most part, the Gadje aren't going to do it for us. So it's best that we have communities and we have establishments and resources that take care of our own. That's the point and that's the goal. So it was wonderful to have that moment and to speak with the officials and to get to know the people as well. And it was honestly, I'll even say this too. It was really heartwarming, because a lot of times now, it's not always this case, but even among Roma, there's a little bit of some tension between different vice of Roma as well. Because again, our family being Bashal de Romungre, that's one thing, but then a lot of the people that were there were Machwaya Roma. And outside of this event, it could either be really friendly, very nice, very fun. I've partied with them multiple times. I knew them, used to hang out with them a lot as well. Used to go eat and things, and they were wonderful people. But then again, there would always be those moments where there was some cultural differences, but it was wonderful to see that we had over 100 people come out for this event, waving their own flags, singing, dancing, and just all coming together as one big Roma community. That was really a huge highlight. If anything, that was the biggest thing that happened this year. In 2023, that was the biggest thing to happen this year. And I only hope that more events like that happen in 2024, whether that's because of the efforts of organizations like the World Roma Federation, or if it's because of people like Raquel and I, if Dead Scared is the reason why these types of events are coming together. And that's something we have on the horizon as well. So that might be something you might be looking forward to. So save up a couple dollars, because maybe you might need to buy a ticket for a Dead Scared event coming soon. So again, this is more or less the last episode that you'll be hearing for the year of 2023. And I gotta say, it has been an eventful one. It has been one of growth, of learning, of reflection, and of scares upon scares upon scares. And that's just what we're here for. So, with that all being said, I personally would like to thank you all for listening, for being a fan, for being a part of the Dead Scared family. And I hope that you listen in to our next episode as we ring in 2024 with another chilling episode of Verda Darano.
Well, I'd like to wish you all a very blessed, happy new year. And I'd also like to personally thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you to all of our wonderful, wonderful guests that we've had on the podcast this year. You guys were amazing.
Yes.
And we hope to hear from you all soon.
Maybe have you guys back on if any other spooky stuff happens.
Yeah.
As we end all of these episodes, take it
Taking and leave? Okay.
Gia kor mangav tuke bachtalotrom, prekotunyaripen. Till then, I wish you safe travels through the darkness.
This broadcast of Verda Darano was brought to you by the talents of Pearson Raquel Horvath, creators of Dead Scared Entertainment, with the help of Piroshka Raj. You've been listening to a production from Dead Scared Entertainment, where terror is our tradition. Good night.